For this project, we're going to be making sculptures out of aluminum foil, and I'm going to show you how to make a person. You can use aluminum foil though to sculpt all kinds of other things once you get the hang of it. So to make a person, you need a piece that's about 12 to 15 inches. That's about as long as my arm, so a pretty large piece. And then using a Sharpie or a marker or a pen, you're going to portion this out. So up at the top, I'm going to put 2 lines. This is where the head will be. So I'm making some lines that are about as long as my finger. Kind of like drawing a square right here in the middle. I'm going to scoop this up now, and I'm going to come down a few inches, probably about halfway down my foil, and then up just a little bit. I'm going to make a longer line this time on both sides. It could almost connect to my first line here where I put the head. And then I'm going to slide this all the way down, and just right in the middle of my foil at the bottom, I'm going to draw an even longer line, just one this time, right in the middle. Okay, these kind of give us the proportions. So this would be the head. These sections are going to become the arms, and these will be the legs. The body is kind of in here in the middle. So when you're working with foil, you have to be really gentle. Don't try to smush it too much. Otherwise, it kind of just loses its shape, and you have to start over if that happens. Once it kind of loses its shape and gets too smashed, it is a little easier to start over. So next, I'm just cutting along these lines that I made. And then I'm going to slowly, gently crumple this up into the shape of a body or a person. So I'll start with the head, and I'm just going to be very, very gentle and just kind of squish that into the ball. I did not press hard at all. And I didn't really try too hard to make that into a round form. I just kind of generally want to get that form started. And then I'm going to do the arms. Okay, same thing here. I'm just kind of gently crumpling this. You can sort of fold it a little. Okay, not too worried about making this look like arms yet. Just kind of getting the general shape of a person. And then on to the legs. Just kind of fold and crumple very gently. I really barely squish this at all. I just sort of crumple it lightly until I kind of have my shape. Okay, you can see the head, the arms, and the legs forming. So now I can sort of go back and work this a little bit more into detail to where I'm going to end up with something that looks a little more like a person. Now the head is probably the part you're going to have to be the most careful with. Do not squish that head too much, otherwise you'll probably end up with a headless person there. Okay. And if you want this person to be smaller, you can keep squishing. Okay, and then you can sort of give him a gesture. Maybe he's raising his arms or her arms, maybe dancing. This is where you kind of get to decide what you want this person to be doing. Okay, and then I want you to create like a little base for the feet, because we're going to be taking these little guys outside and seeing what kind of shadows they make in just a minute. All right, I got person number 1 here. I'm going to make a couple of these to take outside and show you the next step. Okay, I've finished making, I made a couple of people out of my foil. With this one, I used a bigger piece of foil, so it's a little bit taller than the first one that I made. And I also kind of used the same technique to make a little dog. Since we're going to take these outside and look at the shadow, I wanted to just attach a tail and some ears onto that before I go outside. So I'm going to use some masking tape. Tape really comes in handy when you're working with foil, because if you need to tape your foil back together, or you can wrap your foil in tape to make it stronger, that is a great option. So I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape, give my pup some ears and a tail. And then what I'm going to do next is find a nice sturdy paper. If you don't have something that feels really sturdy, you can use whatever you have on hand. That will still work. You'll just have to be a little more careful when you take this outside, because we are going to go outside and look for shadows in just a moment. Okay, now I'm happy with that because I think that shadow is going to show up a little better with my puppy. And what I'm going to do is get my sturdy background, and I'm actually going to attach my people on the edge of my paper. I don't want them in the middle here, because then I won't be able to capture the shadow. And you can almost see that shadow coming through my window there a little bit. So I'm gonna attach my little people sculptures to the edge. Okay, there's a couple ways you can do this. I am going to use liquid glue and place some glue right there on those big feet that I had you make. Now, glue always takes a while to dry, so you have to press and hold for a minute if you're using glue. Or you can also simply use some tape to tape these down as well. I am going to use my clear tape, but you can use masking tape if that's what you have. I like the combination of tape and glue because then I don't have to worry about things falling off. I finished taping and gluing my aluminum foil people and their dog to a paper. I added a little dog leash so I can see what kind of shadow I get from that when I go outside. And I made sure that they're all lined up on one side of the page. That way, hopefully we can see the shadows and trace them when we go outside. So now I'm gonna carry this outside with a pencil to help me see the outlines of to help me draw the outlines of the shadows. And then I'll bring it back inside and finish adding the shadows in my studio. After tracing the shadows, I brought my artwork back inside. And one thing I did forget to mention, when you go outside, you might want to take a board or a clipboard so that you can easily do this. Easily trace that on the ground when you go outside. You have to look for kind of the right angle of the sun. And then when you get back inside, or you can even do this outside, you can fill in those shadows with marker or whatever you want to use. I'm going to use my watercolor set, and I might do each shadow like a little bit different color, just to kind of make this fun. You can paint or color your shadows any color that you want them to be.